For the past 6 years, I've had the privilege and the opportunity to meet and to influence hundreds, if not thousands, of traders. I have had the opportunity to meet individuals who have allowed me to speak into their lives, people who have shared their stories with me, people who have shared their trading results with me, so on and so forth. And that has been one of the greatest things that I've had the privilege of doing in my life. It's been really great. But from the time I started in YouTube to where I am now, I have changed as an individual. There are things that I talked about on this channel that I've changed my perspectives on. And there are things that I have learned over the past 6 years that have entirely changed my life. Those are things that I want to talk about. Mainly, they revolve around the process of making money, pursuing money, which is why everybody is trading, and autonomy, which at one time I said was the ultimate goal. I came on here and a lot of you agree with me when I said that the point of trading isn't to have the fancy car, the fancy house, or anything like that. The point of trading is freedom. The point of trading is autonomy, the ability to do what we want, when we want, how we want, with who we want, for as long as we want, right? I've changed my opinions on a lot of those things, and it has changed my life in a radical way. So to start off with, when I started, the whole point of getting into trading, the whole point of reading self-help books, the whole point of self-improvement was to get money. It was to make as much money as possible. And Brian Tracy encouraged me early on to create a goal, pursue that goal, detail that goal, reverse engineer it, carry out the steps, have discipline until you achieve the goal. And that's what I did. That's what I was focused on. I wanted money and I wanted autonomy, right? I wanted freedom. Those were things that I was very much after. And what I did is something that I see people doing all the time. And it's taking your happiness and your joy and your peace and postponing it and placing it on the other side of a goal that is away from you and out in time. So you say, I will be happy one day, or I will have a feeling of purpose one day, or I will feel accomplished, or I will feel secure one day once I meet X goal, just whatever it is, all right? But that goal will be away from you and out in time, somewhere into the future. And you say, once I get there, I'll have all the things that I want, right? All right, so that's a mistake that I see people making often, and it's a mistake that I made. And, you know, what my experience has showed me is a different way of thinking, a different way of objectively looking at things that not only will increase your likelihood of succeeding, but will give you everything that you want that you won't get by achieving that goal. What I mean by that is we think that achieving certain goals or getting to certain places, especially with regard to money, will bring us these feelings that we're after, because that's what we're really after. We're not after money. Money's paper. We're after what we think money can do for us. And mainly, it's the feelings that money can give us, all right? These are all misconceptions. But that's the idea, right? And so there are ways of essentially experiencing all the things you hope to experience but never will by getting money. There's ways of achieving those feelings in your life no matter where you are. And if you start achieving those feelings in your life, like a sense of contribution, like peace, like joy, like presence, happiness, right? If you start experiencing those things, your likelihood of actually getting to that financial goal that you have out in front of you are a lot higher. They're way higher. But even if they're not, the process itself is so much more enjoyable, right? And so I was guilty of doing that and saying, hey, my life has to be just, it's almost like I took pride in suffering, right? It's like, I'm not going to enjoy anything and I'm just going to push towards this goal because I'm that serious about it. And the reason is because, it's going to fill all these gaps once you get there. And my experience is that it didn't fill all those gaps. Now, don't get me wrong. Let me be clear about something. Financial stability and pursuing financial success, there's nothing wrong with those things. We should pursue those things, right? I am not downplaying the importance of being financially stable. It's so important. However, what I'm saying is we don't have to not feel joy, to not feel pride or a sense of purpose or peace in the process of pursuing our financial goals. We don't have to delay those things. And we don't have to believe that achieving certain things in the future is what's going to actually create that feeling inside of us, because it's not true. That's not true, right? The more we try to gain, the more we try to get, every time we achieve a goal, we just have to move the marker down the field to the next thing. It's, if any of you have worked out before, you think like, well, you start off and you go, man, I can lift this much weight. And one day when I lift X amount of weight, man, that's going to be the greatest day ever. And then you lift that weight and that day is cool for like 2 hours. And your mind immediately goes to, well, okay, what's the next goal? Like you're in endless pursuit of these goals, never really satiated, never really fulfilled. And that's because the juice isn't at the end of the race. The juice is everything in the middle. That's where you get everything. It's in the process itself. That's why Jim Rohn, if you don't know who Jim Rohn is, you need to change that immediately. But Jim Rohn tells this story about his mentor, and it was Mr. Schaaf. I think it was Mr. Schaaf. Mr. Schiff, Mr. Schaaf. Anyways, Jim Rohn's mentor told him, hey, look, you need to go make $1 million. Not to have the money, give the money away, but you need to go make $1 million for what it will make of you in the process. And that's what it is. The joy is in the process. The joy is in loving every part of the struggle, loving every part of the process of refinement that takes place as you pursue a goal. Enjoy the growth, which is always uncomfortable. Being able to have true gratitude for where you are when you are in that place, right? And when we start to pursue our trading goals and our financial goals and our goals as husbands, our goals as fathers, when we start pursuing our goals from that perspective of empowerment, man, it makes it so much better. The outcome is better, but the process is better. And you're able to feel joy just by being present in the process. And I can also understand you saying, oh, well, this is easy for you to say because you have enough, right? You have enough, and so you have the privilege of being able to say some of the things you're saying. I understand that, and that would be a good point for someone to make. But I've also spent a large majority of my life feeling like I didn't have enough, and not being able to pay bills and going through struggles financially. So I do remember what it feels like. And for me, it was absolutely miserable. I just made myself miserable because I thought the more miserable I made myself, the more motivated I would be to change it. And that's partly true, but at the same time, I could have still had motivation, but the motivation could have come from such a higher source, a higher place. And, I could have been motivated more by purpose and, just a simple shift in mindset. This simple shift in mindset right here of going, I don't want to focus on what I can get. I want to focus on what I can give. Everything you get sucks as soon as you get it. Like you get it and it's not what you wanted. It didn't bring you lasting joy or fulfillment. It didn't do anything. Sometimes it's not even like, sometimes you've glamorized it so long that you've made it into something it's not, and then you get it, you get your new vehicle or your new house or whatever it is you want, and it's just stuff, right? But if you help somebody, if because someone met you, their life is better, well, that brings a lot of joy. Like that brings a lot of purpose and fulfillment. Working to be a better version of yourself, working to be a better husband, right? Working to stay with your commitments, working to be a better father, working to improve yourself in the gym to make your body better, right? Being a better version of yourself, working to do those things, man, it just brings you so much more joy and happiness, and you don't have to be miserable. I think my definition of wealth has changed slightly because now I go, anyone who has enough is wealthy. You can have someone with a tremendous amount of money who still feels like they don't have enough, and I would not say that that person is wealthy. But someone could have a lot lower standard of living and truly feel like they had enough and be at peace with that. That's wealthy, man. And I think that's attainable, right? It's more attainable. It gives us hope that, hey, we can get there. So that's what I would say about the money is learn to enjoy things right now. Think about what you can give instead of what you can get, right? Be constantly thinking of how you can serve others, how you can contribute more in every relationship that you have, and think about that with regard to your career, your job path, the ways that you make income. Because if you can find where you add the most value to people, you're going to find something that you truly enjoy, and you're going to find something that brings you a sense of purpose and importance in your life, and you're going to find the thing that you're best at. I love the gym, and I love working on weaknesses, and I love getting better. But what I have found in my life is that the more authentic I can be, and the more I can double down on my strengths, not focusing on being more well-rounded, but like, what are you truly the best at, and then getting better at that, that gets a really good result, right? That gets a really good result, and I'm able to enjoy it during the process. And I don't have to delay my happiness. I don't have to delay my joy. And I definitely don't have to delay my peace, because if you achieve all of the things you ever want to achieve, but you don't have peace, it won't matter. It just doesn't matter at all. And so let's go back to the start of this video where I said, a little bit of a shift in perspective on money, but also the shift in perspective on autonomy. Because I thought that pursuing trading to achieve freedom meant that I could do what I want, when I want, with who I want, for as long as I want. And I wrote a blog post / newsletter. I'm restarting the newsletter for anyone who wants to participate. There's a link in the description. It's free. Just go to the website, give me your email. I'll send you the newsletter. I also post them on the website, but I just wrote this newsletter, and it was about what I discovered on autonomy, which is freedom ain't free. It's not. It is the definition of freedom that we have, that we associate with autonomy, my experience is, can lead you directly into bondage. It leads you into feelings of slavery, because when you start doing what you want, when you want, how you want, and you're focused on yourself, you destroy yourself. You destroy yourself mentally. You live in a state where there's a lack of discipline. You just do what you want to do, which quite often are things that feel good. There's no growth in things that feel good. And I'm not saying that we should not have pleasure in life. We should. But too much of it just ruins you. And if we're left with no accountability, and we're left without structure, and we just have the ability to do what we want when we want, it is very easy for us to slip into a place where we are unhealthy. We have unhealthy habits, we have unhealthy thoughts, we have unhealthy behaviors, right? Because we're trying to do what we want to do, and that's, feel good. A lot of people say, oh, I want to get all this money so I can go lay on a beach and do nothing. You want to be miserable? Go lay on a beach and do nothing for too long. See how that feels, right? Laying on a beach and doing nothing for a period of time when you've worked your butt off is wonderful. But if you did it for months at a time, you'd start to feel useless. You start to feel worthless, and you start to feel purposeless, okay? That's what happens, all right? So all the toys you're planning on buying, the houses, whatever your goals are, they're not going to do anything for you. That car you always want, it's not going to do anything, right? It's just going to be an item. It doesn't matter. But if you are getting after it, and you go after real freedom, here's what I learned about real freedom. Real freedom is doing what you should do, with whom you should be doing it with, for as long as you should be doing it, the way that you should be doing it, right? It's about what we should do. If we wanted to be the highest version of ourselves, if we wanted to be the best version of ourselves, which would be the person who's most capable of contributing the most to other people, it's a shift from thinking about getting to giving, right? Just not what can I get, what can I give, right? When we have that shift, now all of a sudden, there isn't bondage in that. There's freedom in that, right? And so it comes back to it's discipline. It's discipline. It's going against what you want. It's saying, hey, I have a tendency to skew this way, but I'm going to resist that and do this because I believe it's the right thing that gets me to the best outcome. And so when we start to think of it that way, that's where the freedom is. And that's great news because that freedom is available to you right now. Wherever you are, that's available to you right now. And if you take advantage of that freedom, it will actually catapult you towards your financial goals, towards the results that you want in your life, because you're in a totally different headspace. You feel happy. You feel like you have purpose. You feel like you are contributing. You feel joy. You have a peace about what you're doing. And it's all because you're focused on what you can give instead of what you can get. So when you have this trading goal and you have this objective that's out in the future and you say, hey, I want to achieve this goal. And when I achieve this goal, I'm going to feel all these feelings because I'll be able to finally consume what I want to consume. And I'll be able to own what I want to own. I'll be able to possess what I want to possess. I'll be able to have the control that I want so badly. When you think that way, you find that that's a fool's game and that's not how it works, right? You can get there and none of that will be true. But if you, no matter where you are right now, start being grateful for where you are and start trying to amplify your contribution to other people, if you can get this shift out of your head of saying, okay, not what can my spouse give me, but what can I give my spouse? Or what can my children bring me, but how do I serve my children? Or what can my friends give me, or my colleagues, or the people I work with, or my company, or whatever? What can it give me? And focus on what can I contribute to all of those things? How do I enrich all of those things? The law of reciprocity says it comes back to you. And it does. That's just how it works. Like lots of times you get in proportion to the amount that you give. And that's just how that works. And you can start to feel all the feelings that you hope your achievement will bring you. You can start feeling that right now, all the way to your achievement. And you can enjoy the entire process. It'll be so much better. It'll be so much better. You'll be doing what you like to do, and you like it because you're good at it. You'll be filled with gratitude, and you can try to be present. I had to, literally, to remind myself, I had to order this watch. It's not a watch, a wristband. That says, it's got this message on it, and it says, don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain, because I figured out that if I minimize that in my life gets better. So, instead of criticizing, you go, okay, well, how can I compliment or encourage, right? And instead of condemnation, it's like, how do I make someone feel accepted? How do I embrace someone? How do I make them feel welcome? How do I point out positives instead of negatives? And the last one says, don't complain. Man, that's difficult. It's difficult for me, but none of these things lead to any kind of good results, right? So instead of complaining all the time, practice on gratitude, practice on being grateful for the fact that you have a life to live in the first place, that you got to wake up this morning. It's phenomenal. It's a miracle, right? And then I have this thing that says stay present. And stay present because what I found is that no one has ever been able to think themselves into happiness. You've never sat around and thought yourself into a state of joy. It's not how it works. You live in this world of thought, and you're separating yourself from all the feelings that you actually want to have because you're not present and you're not enjoying your life. You're not with the people that you should be with because you're distracted, because you're so focused on the joy that you will one day get. One day you'll get this joy. One day you'll get this happiness. One day you'll get this feeling of accomplishment when everything that is necessary in order to feel those things is right in front of you, but you can't see it because you're not paying attention. I understand that. I've done it. I have to resist it, right? If you have a family, just spending time with that family can give you everything that you want. Especially when you start trying to serve people more, you love them more. When you try to give people more, you end up loving them more. And so that's a powerful thing, because out of all those feelings that we want to feel, like I said, the peace, the joy, the happiness, the greatest one is love, right? And that's it. That literally comes from serving and giving. These are things I just didn't recognize. And I thought that pursuing those goals and chasing those things was the way, and it's not the way, right? Those things are great. Having toys, having a nice house, being able to enjoy and consume certain things, that is good. It is good. It's great, but it doesn't fill all the gaps you think it will. And if you over glamorize it and think it's too much, you're going to be disappointed, because disappointment comes from improper expectation. And when you set this expectation that everything you ever want is on the other side of financial achievement or whatever it is for you, you set yourself up for failure, because you over glamorize it. You make it bigger. You make a bigger expectation than you should. It can't live up to that expectation, and ultimately you feel let down by it, right? That's what ends up happening. So I want to talk more about that on the channel. I want to pivot essentially, and yes, I'm going to continue to talk about trading. I have some very specific things that I want to discuss with trading. But I want to also talk about things that I think matter more than that. And it's ultimately, how do we focus on and achieve the things that we believe trading will bring into our lives, those feelings that we want, that sense of accomplishment, the sense of purpose, the autonomy, right? How do we start to experience those things even before we get the trading results, even before we build the business that we always wanted to build, even before we get to whatever goal it is that we have in the future? How do we get to those things early? And I want to create content about all the little pieces of that, things that I have found to be beneficial in my life, things that I have found to actually work. And that's what I want to share. That's what I want to give to anyone who's willing to hear it or pay attention to it. And it's not the gospel. It's not something that I don't even know if it applies to everyone equally. But the point is that these are things that have worked in my life, things that would have been beneficial to know earlier on. And these are things I want to talk about and encourage others to focus on as we move forward. I will continue to post trading content. Out of the last 6 years, it has become evident that there is a style of trading that produces results more consistently for traders than any other style I have seen over the last 15 years, or especially since I started YouTube about 6 years ago. Consistently, it has been the same style of trading that keeps coming up, right? I have a discretionary style of trading that is very hard to transmit to other people. Even if you teach the component pieces, it still requires years of looking at charts to be able to feel like you can make a discretionary decision. It's very hard to pass on to other people. And I have consistently seen not many traders, but the traders who have consistently produced results are all doing the same or similar things. And that's what I want to talk about on the channel going forward, and just kind of give my take on that and my ways of doing that. And some of those traders are using technical setups that I've taught to help them, and that's cool. And I'll talk about that too. So trading content to come, but also content on just things that I've learned that I think will be helpful if I just put it out there for anyone who's willing to receive it. All right, that's enough. I rambled long enough. I'll talk to you soon.